So in this segment, we're going to be talking about the UK voting to cut foreign aid, and we're going to talk about why this is a fallacy that when people say, "Oh, we just spend the money here on our people," meh, it's an absolute joke because the money is there to do both. We choose to do neither. So MPs voted by a majority of 35 to keep the budget for international development at 0.5% of GDP. Now, in terms of, if you look at the raw number, 4 billion sounds like a lot of money, but in terms of the UK, in terms of GDP, that's not a lot of money, especially when people say we need to spend the money here. Well, spend it then. Go on then, do something with the money. Except they don't. They either use it to cut the debt and deficit, or debt or deficit, or they give it to their friends in terms of contracts. 32 billion test and trace. Let's not forget that. Also, the fact that foreign aid is a tool that can be used to stop the immigrant sort of asylum seeker slash migrant crisis that we have that's in Europe and North Africa. If you can keep people relatively happy where they are, they're not going to take very dangerous routes across the oceans to get to safer countries. If they're happy and relatively can live a decent life where they are, they're not going to make that dangerous trip, and you could do that with foreign aid. But anyways, we go on. Prime Minister Johnson said the cut was needed to keep public debt down during the pandemic. I mean, it's £4 billion. It's barely going to dent the amount we've wasted on test and trace. The government has faced cross-party criticism over the reduction, which amounts to £4 billion, including from all the UK's living former Prime Ministers. I'm sure Thatcher would be the only one who might support this if she was still alive. Many Conservative MPs have spoken out against the move announced last December, which the government did unilaterally, I think, despite a commitment made in their manifesto that it would be 0.7, and again, it's not a lot of money the UK is spending here. Charities such as Oxfam and ActionAid have warned that projects are being called off as a result of the cuts. Again, people are losing out here and people are going to suffer because the UK decided to cut foreign aid when we didn't have to. Conservative rebels included, this is such a weird list there, Theresa May, who doesn't like foreigners, ex-cabinet ministers including Karen Bradley, Jeremy Hunt, David Davis, Stephen Crabb, a name I haven't heard in a while, Damien Green, I think he might be the MP for Kent, and Andrew Mitchell. Another interesting one because I think he is an arch-Brexiteer. They all support this. In terms of GDP, the UK will be below France, so we'll still be one of the highest nations in terms of GDP. But, we're going to lose our status as, I think we were top at one point. Obviously, Germany's at 0.73. And obviously this amount in terms of the actual number is higher than what the UK give out because the UK's GDP is smaller than Germany's. But we're third to France, which, kind of was our ranking within the EU, I suppose. But I digress. Anyways, yes, it's still a lot of money, but should we do more? Yes, especially given Britain's colonial past. Opening the debate, Boris Johnson said the government had spent £407 billion during the pandemic to shelter people from the economic hurricane never experienced before in living memory, but you didn't do enough for freelancers and the self-employed, did you? Or businesses, not really. But again, you're only saving £4 billion. That's not going to dent that. That's not going to dent at all that massive number, so there's no point in doing this. I guess you could say if we make cumulative savings in certain areas, we'll be able to, bridge the gap, but the simple fact is that's not going to happen. Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer said the cut was not in the national interest, and every member here was elected on a manifesto promise to retain the 0.7 target, so the government have broken their manifesto promise here. He added cutting aid will increase costs and have a big impact on our economy. Development aid reduces conflict, it reduces disease and people fleeing from their homes. And this is the point I made earlier that Starmer made, which is that if you can keep people relatively happy where they are, they're not going to be, getting away from where they live. And therefore we kind of avoid part of a asylum seeker crisis. But the problem is the UK don't have that kind of foresight. It is a false economy to pretend that this is some sort of cut that doesn't have consequences, which is true. It does have massive consequences to people who are extremely vulnerable in other countries. Former Prime Minister John Major said the government has blatantly broken its word and should be ashamed of its decision. Well, it's not the first time it's broken its word, has it? It seems that we can afford a national yacht, which is true, than no one either wants or needs, while cutting helped some of the most miserable and destitute people in the world. They're building this yacht, they're doing other vanity projects, a festival for Brexit, but we can't hold our commitment to help the most vulnerable people in the world. Okay, then. Another 14 or so Tories would have joined the rebels on Tuesday to ensure a government defeat. Another 14 or so Tories would have been needed. The thing is that basically what Sunak did was he said that if this foreign aid cut doesn't happen, the UK are going to raise taxes, and that's what kept a lot of the Tories back in their box. But let's not forget here, when the government says we need to help our own, they give out these to kids, weighed out pasta, sugary treats, some vegetables, minor ones, sorry, fruits even, a tomato, some carrots, and this ain't even the worst one either. There were worse pictures than this. Cheese that's been, not sealed up properly in little plastic packets, a tin of beans. That's meant to do them for a week. So when they say spend money on our own, they say it, they don't mean it, because if they did, they could have eradicated homelessness, they could have eradicated child poverty, but they choose not to. Instead, they're going to make a cut to some of those vulnerable people in the world, which doesn't surprise me at all. Theresa May saying that fewer girls will be educated, more girls and boys will become slaves, more children will go hungry, and more of the poorest in the world will die due to our cuts. People relied on this money, people relied on our help, and we let them down once again. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.